started representing Carter Machine probably sometime in 1978 would be a reasonable guess. Miller Carter was heavily involved in the business still at that time.
Miller was hands-on smart. He come out of a manufacturing facility, and when he started his place up, he actually started in an alley here in Galion back in the 40s.
He was kind enough to bring me in on the small metal products parts that he needed. He made the big stuff.
If you talk about Tom's dad, you're talking about Tom. I think they were that much alike. And both of them had this fierce sense of needing to be honest and hardworking and dedicated.
Miller was a very strong individual, and I can see where Tom got some of his drive from his father and his mother.
He kind of grew up within the business, running around as a kid, as I mentioned earlier, and then being educated with the business structure. So he, when his turn come, he was well prepared for it.
I think Tom picked up where they stopped and improved it.
He knew every job that was on the floor and its number without looking at anything, and the customer's name and so forth.
He would be out on the shop floor if there were problems with manufacturing parts or anything. Very involved with the supervisors and the machine operators.
He preferred domestically produced steel versus, there's so many foreign countries that ship material in here, but he wanted to stay with domestic, and that's what we sold at U.S. Steel. He's built a great following because of his loyalty.
Tom was a very methodical business person. Every so often he'd think maybe I wasn't paying quite enough for his services, and he wanted a little price increase. So, of course, the natural thing is to resist a price increase. But Tom would go to great lengths, along with a couple of his associates, documenting all of his business procedures, his costs, and he always justified anything that he needed. Very methodical.
Tom was never afraid to go out on a limb to add machinery, building spaces we needed. We added several additions just to take care of our customers' needs. We added our hard chrome plating department years ago to better control quality and delivery of that portion of our product.
Tom definitely had a desire to see the company grow. He wanted, not just for himself and his family, but for all the people that worked here, he wanted to see everyone's standard of living at Carter Machine Company be very well. There were times where business got slow, and he would pack a suitcase or two of his own, and he'd be out on the road for a week or 2 weeks on end, and he wouldn't come back until he found something for us to work on.
He did whatever he could do to maintain the workforce, and there was times when that was an issue. You had good qualified operators that were running the floor sweeper. He'd move people around wherever he had to just to keep them on the payroll.
I came here looking for a job after trying to get unemployment, which I was denied for, so I had no income. So Tom took my application. Tom looked at me and he says, well, I really don't have anything but schoolboy work. And I says, well, I'll take it. That'll put bread on the table. Minimum wage was $2.10 an hour, and that's what I hired in at. So he says, I'm going to put you up to $2.50. About 2 or 3 days later, before I ever drawed anything under $2.50, he come out and he says, your foreman told me that you're married. I said, yes, sir. He says, you have kids? I says, yes, sir. And he says, he's also told me you have a baby on the way. And I said, yes, sir. And he says, well, he says, in lieu of that, I'm going to put you on full time. Compassionate. And you don't find that in big business. You find that in family business.
We had company picnics every year. That was a thing Tom really enjoyed to do. He got a big kick out of putting on a picnic. We'd go out to the Carter farm on County Line Road, and he'd have a big shindig.
He would definitely loosen up during a picnic. No business, just all have fun, all pleasure. When they first started, they were just huge, up to 300 people.
that was something where all the employees and all the children came together. That family bonding that's come up in this company is very strong, and that helped, the picnic helped bring that out.
I've met thousands of people in my 24 years in sales and 16 other years, but I've never met a guy that was so focused.
I don't know that he knew how to do anything halfway, either him or my grandfather. I think that they always did the best that they possibly could, and if there was work to be done, then it needed to get done, and didn't matter how it got done, it was there to do. And again, I think that constant striving to do the best that you possibly can and be the best that you can, it takes a lot of commitment.
During working hours and company hours, he was 110% company. He demanded excellence from everybody, plus himself. He worked extremely hard all the time.
Yeah, he was always challenging us through project solving to find new methods, new processes that would indeed increase our throughput.
I think that Tom probably invented files and folders. He had a filing system that spanned about 6 or 8 file cabinets. And any subject that you wanted to talk about, he'd whip around and grab that file out. And he'd have it all right in front of him, and he'd make notes in it. And you'd get done with your meeting, and back in the file it'd go.
He was so organized that his desk only had one piece of paper out, and when he did something, when he finished it, it went back and pulled out a new. So there wasn't clutter on that desk. It was too organized.
If we had a project at home, it was always a process. It wasn't a disorganized effort. It was always an organized process that resulted in everything being in the right spot at the right time.
We laughed at the way he used to organize his soup in alphabetical order and things like that. I mean, that's just the way it was. He was not the most coordinated athlete in the world. He was a little bigger than his age, I'll call it. But that's how he kind of grew into golf. Golf became his sport.
When he played golf, he had to have the exact proper technique. It wasn't a homemade swing or that. Once he worked on it and then he would perfect it, he just never lost it.
He was a very concentrated student of the game, very deliberate.
He had a race car that he used to run at Mid-Ohio and Watkins Glen in New York. And I understand that he was fairly competitive with that too.
We all worked on the pit crew with him or for him, but that was the time he was able to get away from work and really have fun, let his hair down, so to speak, have a good time.
He loved to work on his farm. That was his getaway. In fact, he was doing that, I think, at the time he passed.
My son Matt and I had been out and it was May, so we were at a couple of greenhouses. And at one we stopped, and the neighbor fellow said he had just seen Tom out mowing. And so we said, well, I better get home just in case because he'll want me to be working with him. And so when we pulled in the driveway, it was 6 o'clock or so. And we just saw him laying in the driveway. So it was like running into a cement wall. Suddenly you're going on, and then suddenly your life is just halted.
The Monday afterward, when everybody came into work, and even I think all 3 of the times that speeches were made to the employees, I was there. I deliberately made sure I was there as a family representative. I was there for all that. People were very quiet, very sober.
When we heard that he died, we just couldn't believe it. He was not the type of person that you thought that would happen to. He ate pretty healthy and took care of himself and exercised.
He didn't express his stress, never really complained about the schedule that he maintained, but I just wondered if not all that caught up.
Everybody was totally devastated. They just didn't have any idea what was going to happen.
This is where it gets real interesting, because this is what This is really reflective of what small business is really like and the loyalty that small business has to its community and to its people, its employees. Here we have a woman, Juanita, with no real business background specifically in this business. She's done a couple other little things during her life, but nothing really to this extent.
I guess I saw in Tom and his dad this responsibility, this feeling of responsibility to the employees, and having so many long-term employees and then their lives dedicated to Carter Machine Company, that I just wanted to carry that on.
We decided that we would keep the company because we thought it was the right thing to do, and to honor, again, the family, and not to sell off and not have any idea what would happen to the people here or to our customers or to the whole company.
I wouldn't have wanted to take that on to run a corporation this size, and it's a credit to them that Annie and Nita have kept this thing together.
I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs at work, but I've never seen a person who was not self-proclaimed or proclaimed by anybody else to be an entrepreneur, but walk into a situation like that and put their arms around that business and actually make it better.
It's amazing how well it's continued and grown. And you can see the new equipment and the type of products, and very difficult products.
The challenge is that we've expanded into more exotic materials other than standard materials years ago. Into more higher alloy grades of material.
Directly, we handle everything in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Indirectly, we have product all over the world: China, Germany, Korea, England, South America, Russia.
After my father died, I was surprised by the number of people that came up to me and told me stories of how he had positively affected their lives, or how my grandfather had positively affected their lives. I'm very appreciative of the fact that my mother and sister have been able to keep that up and keep that going continuously for 60 some odd years now.
Tom would be very proud of the fact that they were able to maintain and keep this together, because they've always been very loyal to their employees, and continue to do that today.
I think it's been a very interesting experience for me, because I understand very clearly why he said what he used to say growing up about just everything, and understand where he was coming from.
I guess what I would ask him, I guess, is what I've thought about, and that's where would he see himself today? I guess I would tell him that I intend to preserve it the way I knew he would, the way I'm pretty sure he was going to do it. But yeah, I guess I just would like to know how he would see himself today.